Carlos,
Good morning to you.
there he is. Well, welcome aboard. Welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast. I'm excited that you're here.
Very excited to be here. I'm just fixing my camera.
Okay.
Camera's fixed. Microphone's
Oh,
fixed.
where is your outpost in the world? I think you're in Miami, right? Is that
I am. I'm based out of Miami. Exactly
okay.
right.
Perfect. Well, I'm excited to get to know you a little bit, hear about the Carlos story and what we're going to focus on today. So I'd love to hear what you're up to.
So I have a business down here in Miami, Dean. We train salespeople. We teach salespeople how to sell. We train sales leaders. We consult with companies on their sales strategy, their scale strategy. And we've been doing it now for about a dozen or more years. The market has been very kind to us, I have to say. I mean, it could be kinder. The market has been extremely kind. We are replete with clients, which is nice.
Nice. I love that. Well, I was saying, you have, if you were going to craft your sales avatar, I would select a pleasing northern-ish English accent.
Yep, north of the wall.
Exactly there you go. I think that's the thing. Very sophisticated.
Winter's coming, yeah, from Winterfell. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from Manchester.
Okay, I was going to say, I didn't want to. I'm getting pretty good at detecting the different things, but your accent particularly is one of those that is exactly what you would dial in if I could dial in. And I think a pleasing personality with a Northern English accent is a sales advantage.
I think you're exactly right, Dean. Do you know, especially in America. It isn't as much in England.
That's what I mean. In America. Yeah. Now, do the English are the American accents looked upon as favorably as British accents are here, or are they looked down on in the UK?
Do you know, I think it's evolved over the years. It's an interesting question. I think it has evolved over the years. I think I don't think it used to be an advantage in England to have an American accent when, when in the 80s and 90s, when England still had this delusion that they were the masters of the universe, 80s, 90s and early 2000s, when despite all evidence to the contrary, England still felt that it was the master of the world. And I think at that point, in that period, the American accent was kind of sniffed at a little bit as the young upstart, the upstart superpower.
Yeah.
I think that if you were to go and do the same analysis today, I believe that Britain has finally taken a very clear look at itself in the ugly mirror and recognized that its standing in the world is now it isn't at the top of that standing anymore. I think America is very clearly in that position. Right. And so they've discovered that actually, if you're speaking somewhere with an American accent, they probably are somebody you should pay attention to.
Interesting.
I think that's an evolution over my generation, my lifetime.
Yeah. Fascinating. How long have you been in America?
I came out here in 2009, so 14 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 2009 for a corporate gig we were running. I was asked to come. I'm an ex-investment banker, so I did a lot of M&A work, and I was asked to come. I was working in-house investment banking for a big corporate pharmaceutical company, and they were interested in making some acquisitions and some power moves in Latin America, and their Latin American regional office was based in Miami, and so they actually thought I spoke Spanish, which I don't.
Well, with a name like Carlos, that's right. Exactly. Let's look down the list. Carlos Garrido, let's send him. He's got to
be perfect.
Yeah,
I actually got a call from the CEO, Carlos. We have a real exciting BRIC strategy. Do you remember when everybody had a BRIC strategy? Brazil, Russia, India, China, emerging market strategy. So we got a really exciting emerging market strategy. So obviously, because you speak Spanish, we want you to go and lead the Latin American. And my mouth opened. I was about to say, well, I don't speak Spanish. And he said, but of course, you're going to have to move your family to Miami. And I thought, I could learn Spanish.
I can learn Spanish. I'm a fast learner.
Yeah. I'm a fast learner. At Miami, that's pretty cool. I grew up in the 80s watching Miami Vice and stuff.
Of course.
I could learn Spanish. So I just said, all right, cool. But I never told anyone I could speak Spanish. I just didn't correct him. Then I came over to the US, and I was in and out of Latin America, like Mexico and Argentina. And I would be in and out almost every week to speak to somebody. And I discovered very quick that their English was way better than my Spanish was ever going to be. If you're in a proper professional role in Latin America, your English is extraordinarily good.
Yeah, exactly. It's still good.
And so why do I need, I just didn't need Spanish. The only place I actually, in my experience, the place that didn't have great English was Brazil. And you don't even need Spanish for Brazil. They need Portuguese. So I ended up not learning Spanish.
Well, there you go.
I now am married to I'm an imposter, but I'm now married to a Colombian lady. And now it's an advantage, because if I could speak Spanish, I would know what her mother was saying about me. And I don't think I want to know what she's saying about me. There's a look on her face that makes me think, I think we're all happier if I don't know what you just said. I think that makes us all happy.
With a smile. Yeah. That's funny. So how did you evolve then into the sales training business?
Well, it's interesting. So I was living over here, and my brother was a client of a company called Sandler Training. They're a sales training business, and he used to come from the UK he used to have to go once a quarter, I think it was, to Dallas to do a 2-day boot camp with this sales trainer, who's a buddy of mine now. And he used to fly through Miami because he wants to see his bro. We used to have a weekend together, and then he would go to Dallas. And one time he turned up and said, "Hey, can you help me out? I really love Miami," because he's been experiencing Miami. And hey, guys, if you've not been to Miami, do yourself a favor. It's like the place. So come to Miami. He came to Miami, and he was like, I'm thinking about opening up one of these sales training businesses, and I want to come to Miami. And he actually said to me, "Do you want to do it with me?" And I said, "No, I have absolutely no interest in doing that with you. Thank you, buddy." And he said, well, can you help me out? Because I was a banker and I used to write business plans a lot. He said, "Can you help me out? Can you write me a business plan? Because I need a business plan for immigration purposes. When you get an investor visa, you've got to present it with a plan." So I spent the next 3 or 4 months writing him a business, in my part-time, writing him a business plan on the, and so I really dug deep into the market, the model. I looked at the economics of it. And over that period, I fell in love with just the business of it. I also met a lot of people whose life had been changed materially by, it sounds so crass. It sounds almost, it doesn't sound right, but I met so many people whose lives had been changed by the economic impact of learning how to sell properly.
Oh man, I bet.
And, it occurred to me at that time that there was no skill that was as impactful on somebody's economics, somebody's financial independence, than learning to sell. And, I was speaking to, and subsequently I have had clients who are surgeons, lawyers, I have a surgery team who is a client, and the impact we have teaching them to sell. People that you wouldn't think even don't need to know how to sell. Yeah. It is an extraordinary impact. So I fell in love with the business, and I ended up doing it with him. And then about a year ago, he retired to France. Antonio, when you watch this, Antonio will definitely watch this. He's a Dean Jackson super fan. So when Antonio watches this, when Antonio retired to France last year, after we'd been in partnership for 10 years, but he's a lot older than me. Did you hear that, Antonio? a lot older than me. He's not. He's a little older than me, but he retired to France, and I bought him out of the business. So now it's me, but Antonio is still my consigliere.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why I did it. I was writing a business plan for my brother. I discovered what a fabulous business it was and what extraordinary impact it can generate. And I fell in love with it.
What a hotbed Miami was going to be for business, as it was. Yeah. I mean, just picking the right thing. You know what? I love it. One of my realtor clients told me the thing that her clients all love about Miami is that it's so close to America.
That's close to America. Exactly right.
So close to America.
That's right. Yeah. It's the logistics into America are so easy. That's right.
Oh, man. Well, I have such a fondness for sales. I just did a book called Convert More Leads. And what you just said about the ability for people to sell, which is exactly what lead conversion is, in combination of, through email, through, asynchronous things and in person. It's such a gateway. I find so many people, we talk about our 8 profit activators and our before unit, during unit, and after unit. So soundly set in the before unit are the first 4 profit activators of selecting a single target market, compelling your prospects to raise their hand, educate and motivate them, and make compelling offers. That's the 4 things. And so the educate and motivate and the making compelling offers fit perfectly together to make that lead conversion element. And I find so many people when we do our profit activator scorecard that there's so many people who are crystal clear on who they want to attract, and they're very strong on delivering the dream come true results for people when they find them. But there's a big dip in their ability to get in front of the right people. And so whenever there's somebody who has, this is like I think it's the number one skill that you can have that will determine your fate, is your ability to, when you're in front of people, transfer that's all really sales is, right? A transfer of belief.
Alex Hormozi calls it a transfer of belief over a bridge of trust. Mm-hmm. And it isn't binary. Mm-hmm. It isn't you've got trust or you've not.
No.
The trust, some bridges need to be stronger.
Yeah.
Like, that if you've got to push a hell of a lot of belief over that bridge, mm-hmm. because you're fighting's a terrible word. You're countering or counterbalancing your prospect's belief set. Mm-hmm. So if your prospect has got an extraordinarily big belief that they don't need any help to make the decision, they should buy on price, they shouldn't trust the sales guy, this isn't a decision that needs making today, this is a commodity, and I could go on and on about what the prospect is believing, then the amount of counter belief that needs to be pushed over that bridge can either be a little belief, which only leads a little trust, mm-hmm. or a monstrous, like a monolith of belief, mm-hmm. that's got to get over that bridge, and that needs a lot of trust. And it's interesting to think about it through that lens. Mm-hmm. And it's such an interesting puzzle to develop salespeople, because everybody wants to sell. And by the way, a lot of people think they can sell. And when you really when you really start to pick away at it and start observing them and start talking to them, you realize that they're order takers. They're not salespeople.
That's exactly it.
They have been fortunate or unfortunate to be in an environment where either, there's such strong lead generation that they don't need to be good at selling. That mm-hmm. just the natural conversion of some de minimis level of lead is good enough. Mm-hmm. Or they've just got such a good product that it just kind of closes itself, so differentiated. Mm-hmm. And so they're in this environment where they've been taking orders. Someone's told them they're in sales, so they think they're a sales guy. And they're not inspiring any good decisions. They're just taking orders. And because it is so difficult, it's such a heavy lift to develop salespeople, a lot of business owners, without even realizing they made this choice, they chose to be okay having a team of order takers. They didn't even know they were making that choice, business owners and leaders. They've made a choice that, you know what, I can't seem to solve this sales puzzle, so I will create a lead engine, which gets me off the hook. Or I'll set my pricing at a point which gets me off the hook. Or I will, I'm just going to take sales out of the puzzle without knowing that's what I did.
Yeah.
And it was out of years of frustration, because it's hard to train salespeople, to get salespeople. And good people, good natural salespeople are really hard to manage. So even when you get a superstar, it's misery and heartburn. So I find a lot of companies have just bitten the bullet without realizing it and just said, you know what? I'm going to find a way to create revenue without strong sales skills. A lot of companies have done that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because I look at the two sides of the before unit, and we treat the before unit as a supplier to the during unit. And the during unit, of course, is the part that does whatever it is you do. It's once somebody's made, they've decided they're on board. Most businesses are really good once people come on board. I think they have good intentions and they're able to get people a result. But their ability to identify the people, first off, who could use their help, and then enter into a dialogue that leads them to doing that is where they fall down. And of the two parts, if we take the before unit, when I just get people to think about it as creating a supplier to their during unit as a separate business sort of thing, that the two elements of that are generating leads and converting leads. And generating leads is a science. You can do that. I can set up for anybody a system that generates leads in a really leveraged way. Without the book is a perfect example of that. Of being able to, that's why we created the 90-minute book company, is to
brilliant. It's genius.
To help people create books that get people in the conversation. Like I look at it, if somebody, and this is our front end sort of lead generator, that if somebody goes to convertingleads.com and they download this book, I know that what they're interested in is they want to convert more leads. That's the thing that they're raising their hand. And I've even I created an acronym for leads that I call a lead instead of, because it's kind of dehumanized. I talked about them as leads. I think about it as one person showing up at your door and saying, let's engage and do something. That's what they're saying. If somebody raises their hand and says, I'd like the Convert More Leads book, well, in your term, it does what it says on the tin. It does the job is what they're indicating that they're interested. So I say to them, imagine that your opt-in page is like a magic portal. And as soon as somebody presses download or send me my book, they're magically transported to your office. They poke their head in the door and they say, hi, I'm here about the Convert More Leads book. Now, how would you start that conversation in a real situation? And that's where it really comes down to this conversational ability to identify who are the 5-star prospects. And that's where, we look at 5-star prospects being people who are willing to engage in a dialogue. They're friendly and cooperative. They know what they want. They know when they want it, and they'd like us to help them. That's the bridge we're trying to cross, right? But most people start the process at the bottom. They start and say, here's what we got. You need to buy this right now. we're starting with that's the thing without doing any investigation, any conversation to find out whether this is the right thing.
This idea of I often think of a similar scenario that when I'm helping clients, somebody pokes your head in the office and says, hey, I'm interested in, I've got a need. I need somebody. I've got something I need help with. Are you the person to help me? Right? They've just poked their head in. And I often ask clients to imagine that this office they were staffing was an Alcoholics Anonymous office. Okay. So somebody pokes their head in. Hey, I'm thinking, is this the right place? A little bit uncertain, a little bit uncomfortable. If the person at that chair says you're in the right place, buddy, come in here, you'll never take a drink again. Do you know that's not what an alcoholic wants to hear?
Right.
You want to chase that guy away. Tell him out of the gate how good it's going to be when you work with them, right? Alcoholic doesn't want to hear you'll never take a drink again. Alcoholic wants to hear, hey, I know you've got some troubles. I understand you. Just come in and just have a chat. That's what an alcoholic wants to hear. So when that head appears at the door, like through your portal, which I think is a fabulous mental model, they come through the door. The message isn't, we can help you. The message is, I understand you. The message is, you're safe here. Let's have a conversation. Because I think that a lot of salespeople run way too fast at that gate. Don't you, Dean? When you see them, they run way too fast at that gate.
That's it. They start right away with making prescriptions without any examination.
Yeah, 100%.
So what was your idea here of us getting together? What's the thing that you want to kind of talk about or focus on here?
Well, first of all, I'm a super fan. So it's like just talking to Dean's pretty cool, right? I mean, that's a pretty cool prospect. So I was just thrilled with the opportunity to come and speak to you. And you're the master, right? You're the master of generating leads, and then I'd love to know more about how, because I'm a bit of a dinosaur. This whole world of lead generation, I'm dipping my toe in. I consume guys like you, Gary V, Alex Hormozi, and the list goes on of people who know how to play that piano, that lead generation piano in a very modern world. And I play at it. I have a cool podcast. I have a cool, YouTube channel. I have I play at social media, but I'm on a subtherapeutic dose of almost every medicine, right? I'm in a subtherapeutic dose of all these different medicines.
I love it. Those are great words. Yeah,
but it's true, right?
Yeah,
I have a subtherapeutic dose of everything I'm trying to bit, and I don't even know how to think about this in this modern world. And I thought, the kind of business I've got. I'm trying to magnetize. Well, I'm not trying. Listen, I'm fortunate. My problem isn't my business isn't starving, but it isn't scaling.
Right.
And it's scale that I want to bring to my business. It did have every business is starving for 2 years, right? And then every business it's interesting. You go quickly from starving to indigestion, right? So it goes quickly from it's starving to death to actually it can't support the clients it's got.
Yeah.
And I've kind of got it now even. Yeah. Nice, I have like 200 clients. I have like 1,000 learners, 500 to 1,000 learners at any point in time within a nice basket of clients. But scaling is a different. That's different. That's done differently in this modern world, and I don't understand it, Dean.
Well, let's break it down a little bit. So, if we take your ideal prospects, the people that you're looking to serve, are you working within a geographic area? Are you in South Florida, or are you working with people all over the world? Where Okay, so there's 8 billion.
But there is a weighting. There is a weighting to South Florida. I mean, I was too casual with that. I would say if you looked at it from a dollar flow perspective, 50% of my dollars are flowing out of South Florida, and 50%, and then another 30% are flowing out of US outside South Florida, and then maybe another 20% out of a global marketplace. If you were to weight it that way with dollars. Yeah.
So if you could, the biggest shift that I often help guide people towards is this shift from, I love these sub-therapeutic doses of all of the things. You got the YouTube channel, you got the social media, you got the podcast, you're doing all those things. And my observation of it is that when people are doing those, they're doing those things in hopes of being seen and selected, right? Instead of selecting a single target market. We're talking about Profit Activator 1 being the active choosing of the target audience rather than putting things out there and hoping that people select you, right? So we want to cast the natural tendency is to want to cast as wide a net as possible, right? Because that opens up where we serve clients globally. That means anybody can. It seems scary to say we work with people in South Florida, in Southeast Florida, particularly. It seems like a scarier thing, right? So part of the process that I go through in analyzing this is thinking, okay, if there are 8 billion people on the planet, and some number less than 8 billion would be the ideal client for you. So if we bookend this with saying
about 7,900,000,000. Yeah.
So we look at that as, if we were to say, what does scale mean to you? How many people can you accommodate? How many people, and what's the economic relationship that people have with you? What is your product line from low to high kind of thing of how people can engage with you?
So I have some clients who our engagement is extremely passive. Our relationship is extremely passive. They are buying content from me through our learning management portal, like, $1,000 a year, something like that. And sometimes that's an individual and sometimes that's a team. So a team might be, if it's 10 people, that'll be $10,000. It's like $1,000 a head, that kind of for the year. And they're in a curated program of how to improve sales and design a sales system and all the stuff. But it's self-serve. It's a self-serve environment.
Yeah.
Then I have
gym
those
membership.
Sorry?
It's a gym membership. Come on in. It's all there. Yeah.
It's all there. And, some people do really well with that. And some people, there are some people that join the gym on January the 1st and they're still going and they're looking great on December the 31st. And then there's those people that taper off in the summer. And then there are those people that get to Easter and then they just it slips. And there are many people that have a great first week. And then, you go and have a look at a gym on January the 2nd.
Oh, yeah,
it's packed.
Exactly.
January the 16th, no problem. You can get on everything. So, and by the way, it's interesting because some people say, well, they lack desire. No, they don't. Everybody who was in there on January the 2nd really wanted to get in shape.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It wasn't a desire issue.
Yeah.
It was the issue is, have they got an app? Are they comfortable with change? Yeah. Were they really prepared to change? It wasn't desire. It's change. But anyway, so I've got that we're off on one of my favorite topics. But so I've got that kind of low point pricing. Then I have those people who are in like our weekly program, which is that low point, which has got that LMS tier with added into it a online, a weekly live training.
Okay.
Then I've got those people who then include like for the team or for individuals, some coaching. And then I've got those people where it's a real sort of partnership with the leader on strategy and sales strategy and helping them recruit salespeople. And so, it goes all the way from this like $100 point all the way to I've got clients paying me $400,000 a year.
Wow.
And it goes, and I've got individuals that pay me $60,000-$70,000 a year just for one person. So it is a very wide, there's a very wide window there to play in, to operate in.
So if you wanted to scale that, what would be your preference? Would you rather get more $400,000 clients or more $60,000 clients or more $1,000?
I think what I've realized in terms of being able to scale, I've got this. If you were to draw a sort of a distribution, I would have a very normal distribution, right? The typical normal hump distribution, where most of my dollars sit in the middle, and then I've got these few outliers at big dollars, and then I've got these few outliers at small dollars. And I think if I could invert that shape, because the scale happens at the two ends, doesn't happen in the middle.
Right.
And yet my business, 80% of my business sits in that middle, which is, a sales team of 10, a heavy lift from me and a lot of support and a lot of coaching. And then my calendar or my team's calendar, I've got a cool team. My team's calendar is smashed to pieces by this middle of the hump. Whereas at the extremes, you've got the super economics, which is worth the time at the top end. And then you've got the $100 end, which is entirely scalable. I mean, there's no limit to that end. So my problem is I'm operating in the middle and I need to operate at the ends.
So what would be your current strategy for, like, if we were to let's take one of the ends, let's take the high end of the thing, because that
would embarrass me, Dean. I haven't got any strategy for it.
Okay.
I've got a great strategy for the middle, which is why that's where all the volume is.
Well, this is where
what? You've just made me think, because I'd never thought about it like this before. Yeah. That's the value of mentors, right? That's the value of guys who know what they're talking about. What you've just made me realize is I do not have a strategy. Well, again, I kind of have got a strategy for the bottom end, which I'm just starting to operate, which is this subtherapeutic dose of 15 different techniques and channels and modalities. So I'm doing it badly at the bottom end. At the top end, I don't really, those elephants, when they kind of fall at my feet, I'll take them and help them, and it's great economics. Where I struggle is as a business, because I went through that phase of starvation that every business owner goes through. And so when something works well, it's hard to let go of it, even though that's the thing that's holding me back. Have you ever read 10X is easier than 2X?
Of course. Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Yeah. That is such a great analysis of the fundamental change you have to go through to get to the next level. Yeah.
And what you've got to leave behind, and that evolution. And it's I'm struggling with that, Dean.
Yeah.
Of stopping doing what got me here. Right.
Well, this is part of the exciting thing, is that we're talking about a before unit for you. I've got no doubt in the capabilities of your during unit. You know what to do. You know how to do it. And I've got no doubt in your lead conversion abilities if you get in front of the person who would be a good match for that. So this is going to be a pretty easy fix for you, I think.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. But it's going to require this idea of selecting a single target market to begin with at a time. And I often say, people often get scared when they hear or think about narrowing their focus, because nobody wants to narrow anything. Everything that feels limiting, right? It's risky to narrow. But I always use Procter & Gamble as an example of a company that has, 23 individual billion-dollar brands that are all run independently and are serving what seems like competitive parts of the market. They've got 5 different laundry detergents that do $1 billion each.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all serving a very specific attribute, right? Like they've broken down, rather than saying, like a big box retailer might say, let's do laundry detergent and call it laundry detergent and put it in a box and get it in front of a bunch of people so that they've got the widest possible audience for it. But Tide knows that there's a specific segment of the market that what they're really motivated by is they want to get their clothes as white as possible. And that's what Tide is for, right?
Bright, white.
People, yeah. That's it. They've got scientists and whole teams of people dreaming the day away of how to make clothes whiter than they are now. And then there's a whole other segment of the population that they want to get tough stains out. So there's ERA for that segment of the market. And then some people just want their clothes to be soft and smell nice. So there's sunlight for that. And then there's others that just want to throw it all in and not ruin it. And that's where cheer comes in. All temperature cheer. Don't worry about ruining it. Throw it all in there and go ahead. And that's the whole...
All whites and colors together, everything just gets thrown in.
We're not going to ruin it. You're not going to... No more pink underwear, right? That's the thing. So all of those exist and serve individual, totally viable markets, but they're micro segmented, right? So if I say out of the 8 billion people, let's just even say in America, there's 28 million businesses that are in existence right now. 6 million of them are employer businesses, meaning they've got other people. Most of the businesses in America are one-person operations. And so if we were to narrow down, it's this going from reach, which is 8 billion people on Earth, down to relevance, which is right in your backyard. Like if you were to think about it, if you were to say, are you calling your $60,000 to $70,000 clients? Would that be on the top end or the middle?
In the middle.
They're in the middle. And so if we were to go on where does the top end start? Would you say 6-figure clients from there?
Yeah, 150. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually with a sales team of around 20 people ish.
Okay.
You know, it's probably more like 200. I would say it starts at 150 to 200. Let's say 150. Okay. And we're talking about kind of 20, 30 plus sales guys, including customer service and sales leadership and, you know, people that are involved with helping customers make great decisions, you know?
I like that. So if we take that, how many of those businesses do you think there are just even in South Florida? Let's just take a bubble here and see.
I'm going to bet. I'm going to guess there's 200,000 of those.
And
even in South Florida. Yeah.
In South Florida, 200,000.
Maybe that seems too much. If you do Tri-County, go everywhere, Orlando South. Yeah, it must be, right? It's a lot of businesses there.
But the fact that you don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's very telling. That's very telling. Yeah.
It's a knowable number, right? Like we can know that the thing, I do a lot of work with financial advisors. And one of the realizations I had was all these guys, a lot of the advisors I work with are national advisors, like nationally ranked and Kiplinger's and all the stuff. And they're putting out all this content, writing articles in Kiplinger's, doing all these things. And they get selected because of that exposure and being there, but they never know what they're going to get, right? They're not selecting. And when I really got down to it with one particular advisor, and most of them that I've talked to, if they're in an assets under management kind of mode, they'll really say that their ideal sweet spot is someone with $1 million to $3 million in their 60s who's transitioning into retirement. They need to turn assets into income and all the navigation that goes on in that transition. And so, I pointed out to them that they're surrounded by these people. Like we did a search on people within 20 miles of this advisor's office, there were 13,800 people, couples who have $1 million to $3 million, are 62 to 67 years old, and are homeowners. That group. And I realized in that moment that 1,000 people with $1 million is $1 billion honey hole. That's like if you're fishing in a pond and you knew that it's stocked with 1,000 people with $1 million, that's $1 billion in potential assets under management, right? And
There's never a shortage of market, right? There's never a shortage of market dollars, ever.
And so I look at that for you. If we said, 150 to 200,000, that every 5 to 6 or 7 of those is $1 million in revenue, right? Like taking those strides, $1 million strides. So you wonder, how many of those could you accommodate? If I could snap my fingers and deliver them, how many could you accommodate right now? Or how many is there an onboarding process that you would need to take?
We have a beautiful system that we have a beautiful system that onboards, and we have a great customer journey. When I say great, we have a customer journey that isn't, it's not where it needs to be, but it's pretty good. Yeah. I could accommodate of those businesses right now with me and my team. I could manage 20 of those. Now I have about, of those top end guys, I have 10 now. I could probably do 30. I could probably triple what I've got at that top end. But hey, the economics that flow out of that gives me the ability to invest in much more bandwidth. I mean, it's beautiful economics that flow out of that end of the business.
Yeah. So listen, we've got 20 that we're looking for more. Yeah. Right.
It's not a lot, right?
We've narrowed down from 8 billion people. We're looking for 20 decision makers who are in charge of 20 to 30 salespeople and making that decision to engage with you, right? That's who we're looking for out of the 8 billion. Now, surely, how far do you live in Miami, or you live in Fort Lauderdale? Where are you?
No, down deep in the depths of Miami. Yeah, I'm in South Florida, South Miami. Yeah,
in Brickell or that area, like that?
No, I'm just at Palmetto Bay, just near Pinecrest, near Coral Gables. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Coral Gables, beautiful. So I bet that right there, I don't know how we'd have to go too far to find 20 people that are ideal, right? And
nope, you're right. Wouldn't.
I just look at that as like.
But it is interesting that your instincts move to the other end of that distribution curve. See, my instincts pushed me to the other end, which is, would I rather have 1 million people at the small end and create a net that catches that 1 million? That was where my instincts was, which is why I'm at this subtherapeutic dose of all these different things. Your instincts were to go to the other end, to go to the large client end.
Why deprive the world of your highest and best ability, right? Like that's kind of a thing. You can have a much bigger impact on the world with reaching 400 salespeople through 20 relationships that are going to impact hundreds of thousands of lives, right? That's really the bigger impact that you're having. Are you familiar with Richard Mille watches? Do you know you've seen? So it's a high-end watch that Rafael Nadal wears and all these, they're very expensive watches. And I spent a lot of time in Toronto, and where I stay in Toronto, in Yorkville, there was at the hotel where I stay, there was a Richard Mille watch store. Their flagship Canadian store kind of thing was there. There's not a single watch in the place under $120,000. And what he did was really pretty brilliant. He wanted to build the very best watch that you possibly could. So he teamed with, Swiss engineers and making the watch. He wanted to make it the most durable. And his approach was, let's make the very best watch possible. And then let's figure out what it needs to cost. And so he did that, and they landed that their average price is $185,000. And in last numbers that I heard in 2020, they sold $540 million of these watches. And he said in an interview that they sort of ended up alone in that market because there's lots of $50,000-$60,000 luxury watches. And there's other $1 million, museum piece kind of watches that are delicate that you don't wear, but they're $185,000 watch. If you've got a $20 million yacht, of course you're going to have a $185,000 watch. If you've got 5 supercars, of course you're going to have another one that you can wear on your wrist. It's that same thing. Nobody needs 5 supercars, just like nobody needs all these watches. So I learned a lot through that, starting with what's the very best thing that you can do, and let's go for that. And so if you look at it, that finding who those people are, finding those 20 is going to be much easier than finding what would take the equivalent of 20,000 people to get to the same level on the low end, right? It just seems like
it's interesting. So what you're describing is a sales puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got a choice. I can either solve the sales puzzle at the large end, or I can solve the marketing puzzle at the small end. And I've been pointing my efforts at the marketing puzzle of the smaller, the lower part of the distribution curve.
But I think you could just as easily take and turn the top end into a marketing puzzle.
That's why I need Dean. Right. Yeah. So explain that.
Well,
in the last 5 minutes, explain that to me.
Oh, I do. We've both got to run at 10. Yeah. This is a fascinating conversation. So I worked with Alex Epstein, who wrote The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. He's a high-end guy. He works with energy companies that are, he speaks at their at conferences, helps them with messaging and shareholder, messaging, to always on the side of shining a better light on fossil fuel, traditional energy companies. And when we realized that there's only 250 people in North America that could hire him, right? These are the CEOs of the largest energy companies in the country, because he's a high-end consultant and keynote speaker at big events. So it's not mom and pop shops that are hiring him. But once we identified that there are those 250 people, it's like now it's about how many of those people. We talk about this idea of know you, like you, trust you. Everybody hear that you gotta get that. But everybody kind of looks at it as one destination. And we talk about it as that. And they don't properly revere the leap from not knowing you to knowing you. And once they know you, it's a much shorter bridge to liking you. And I don't mean liking you personality-wise, but the more they hear about you, that you're resonant with what they think, right? I'm like-minded with Carlos. He's making sense to me. I like what this is. And over a period of time, they trust you. And from that foundation, you can make the leap to a collaboration, right?
Yeah.
So I think part of it is getting that identity there. If you look at one of those clients, if we found 1,000 of those clients, right? 1,000 clients, 1,000 of those candidates, right? Those companies, and just adopted those 1,000 and started marketing to those 1,000 in a way that is going to show up on their radar. And now you're a known quantity, because if we did that thing, if we identified those 1,000, odds are that very few of them know who you are or know that you even exist.
Oh, without a doubt. And my mind, this is my kind of self-limiting belief, is that those guys that you've just described live in a very noisy world.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of guys with that are looking for that attention. Very noisy world. And so I have to ask myself some questions. One, do I have the chops to stand out in that crowded market, in that noisy world? Do I have the chops for it? Is it even doable, that? Or am I, is this a fool's errand? And I think it's these questions that are holding me back.
I know we got to run in a couple of minutes. So let me ask you this. If we could create a vending machine that had them on the cover, that if we could push a button and deliver $150,000 annual client, do you keep them for multiple years?
Oh, yes.
How much would you be willing to pay to push the button?
The economics are that I could pay and make a reasonable business. I could pay $100,000 to push that button. If I had 100% closing rate. Now my closing rate is good for an engaged, so I can close. Do you mean the button gives me a client or gives me a lead?
No, the button gives you a client. That's right.
Then reality is I could pay $100,000 to push that button.
Perfect.
Because then I've got the next year and the next year and the next year for free.
Do you think if we launched a marketing approach campaign to 1,000 people with a budget of $100 per person over the next 6 months, that we could find one of those clients?
That's a question. That's like asking me, what's the right way to approach a heart replacement surgery? I have no idea. That is not an area I'm expert in.
That seems like a pretty manageable.
Well, you're the expert. If you're telling me, that's doable, then that's doable. I believe you,
Yeah. Well, I think we should continue the conversation, but I know we've both got to run at the top of the hour here.
Very interesting though, right?
So far, what's your thought so far in terms of what we've...
I think you've completely... I was expecting you, just because of what you do and again, I had this in my mind. There's one end of this curve, which is I hadn't even thought of that mark. I've never even thought about inverting that U. So that was an aha moment for me. And then in terms of the scale happens at the two ends, not in the middle. So that was an aha moment. And then I was going to imagine that you were going to drag me, which is where I wanted to go, down to high volume, low ticket.
Yeah.
And you pulled me hard, low volume, high ticket.
Yeah.
And that now I still don't see that, because we haven't spoken long enough about it. I don't see that as a marketing puzzle. I see the high volume, low ticket as a marketing puzzle, and the low volume, high ticket as a sales puzzle. And that's a conversation for the future.
It's all a marketing puzzle and a sales puzzle. You still got to have sales on the low end too.
Yeah.
The same thing. But yeah, I'm super excited. We had a great conversation. I'm glad we were able to kind of think that way, but let that percolate for you.
It will. Thank you, Dean.
These people. So I'll let you go.
Thank you, Dean. Take care. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye. Yes.